Hey everybody, it's Mark Cavalier with the Southwest Coalition, and I'm coming to you live from the sidewalk in Santa Teresa. We just had our big Birth of Hope gala. We're still coming down off of that. It's been amazing, all great things, but I have some additional good news, bad news, and really heartbreaking news that we've just learned. So the good news is that we've actually been seeing recently that the abortionist in Santa Teresa fronts the yard is no longer in this space, and we knew that his lease was up and they weren't going to renew it, and so there was a lot of questions about the status of that. So they've been moving out of that space. The bad news is that they've moved into a new spot down that strip there. You can see over my shoulder, but the new spot is next to like a marijuana dispensary, so it's a lot sketchier. We were hoping that when he got kicked out of his current space, that he would retire, but that's not the case. He's still continuing to operate, but in a location that's much further off the road, smaller and sketchier. So we're hopeful that it's just a matter of time before that place closes. So that's one update. The heartbreaking news, though, is that we just learned that he's going to be doing abortions not only on a Sunday, but on Christmas Eve. And we are just shocked by that. It's one of those things that, you're surprised, but you're not surprised. Like, I mean, when you have no value for, the trauma that a woman goes through, and for the life of the unborn, then of course there's going to be no respect for Christmas Eve, for a Sunday. But on Sunday morning, on Christmas Eve, there's going to be women coming into this facility that for the rest of their lives are never going to be able to experience Christmas Eve and Christmas the same way again because of what's happening. And so I'm coming over here to show you the new locations. On the very corner of this building behind my shoulder, on the far end, there's the marijuana shop, and then that yellow and red suite right next door to it is the new location of abortionist Franz the Yard, because he wasn't able to get his lease renewed to stay in the spot that he was in. Again, we were hoping he would just retire, but there's of course too much money to be made with Texas women coming from all over the state to this spot. So he's still open, just right there in that sketchy little hole in the wall right next to the marijuana shop now. So that's what they're calling healthcare. That's what they're saying women deserve, is to come here, from all across the state of Texas, to a doctor who is under a medical malpractice and lawsuits, in next to a marijuana shop in a little hole in the wall. That's what they're calling healthcare. And he's doing this trauma, he's perpetrating this trauma not only on a Sunday morning, but on Christmas Eve. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have, we just decided this morning with our leadership team, is we're going to be having a special Christmas caroling prayer vigil on Christmas Eve morning. And I know that's going to be hard for a lot of people to join because it's Sunday and there's church services and things going on Christmas Eve morning. But there are going to be women and babies out here being harmed on Christmas Eve. And so, excuse me, it's just really hit us heavy today. Today's one of those days. So this is the exact opposite of everything we've been talking about at our Birth of Hope Gala. We were talking about, the beauty of motherhood, of childbirth coming in as we celebrate the nativity of Christ when God incarnate was born. And this makes me think of, the holy innocence that even our speaker, Jim Caviezel, referenced, that beautiful Christmas morning we celebrate, but how many children lost their lives because of that. And here we are remembering the nativity of Christ. And still 2,000 years later, we have, babies being slaughtered on Christmas Eve because we still have not yet fully embraced in our culture God incarnate on that Christmas Eve morning. So it's a bittersweet thing that that's happening. I see my good friend Myra Rodriguez, a former Planned Parenthood manager, is commenting that they used to do abortions on Christmas Eve. The way they stopped in Phoenix was gathering 200 people to pray the rosary. The bishop has been doing it for many years, and that stopped Planned Parenthood from doing abortions on Christmas Eve. Thank you, Myra, for sharing that. We've never seen Christmas Eve abortions. We've seen them on Thanksgiving and things like that, but on Sunday on a Christmas Eve, that's news here. So we just heard from our friend Myra, who's now an amazing advocate for life, that your prayers and your presence makes a difference. So we want a big gathering out here. The whole purpose of Christmas caroling is to spread the joy and the hope of Jesus Christ, a new life on, coming, God incarnate, coming into the nativity. And what more profound way to come out and pray for a Christmas miracle, even if it just touches one person's heart, one person's mind on that day. So we're going to be gathering out here on this grassy area where you're used to coming out for your 40 Days for Life prayer vigils. We'll be here for from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. As long as they're here, traumatizing women and harming children. And we'll have some song sheets with Christmas carols so that you can come out and join us. We'll be praying and really bringing that joy. I'm sorry, man, it's really bothered me today. But really bringing that joy here to that point where so many women are not going to be feeling joyful, and they're not going to be finding joy in that facility. But you can be that sign of joy and that sign of hope for them. And I know that with your presence and your prayers out here, that God can touch hearts and minds and work miracles. So thank you guys for your prayers, and spread the word. It's fairly short notice, but again, we're going to be out here on December 24th, Sunday morning, from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Get you maybe come before your church service or immediately after your church service. And between all of us coming out, we want to make sure there's people out here. And then, like I said, our team will make sure that when we're done, that you'll have some hot cocoa or something to kind of warm you back up. So, but thank you guys for your support, your prayers. I'll be putting out more updates following our big, awesome event that we just had here shortly. But we just learned about this, and this took all precedence and priority. So spread the word, and hopefully we'll see you out here, because yeah, we need to show up. So thank you all, and in spite of this, we know that through God all things are possible, and we will have a very, very Merry Christmas. God bless you. See you soon. Last comment, Melissa says, praying for the Lord to intervene and do a miracle of love in the hearts of the abortion workers and doctor. Lord, protect these vulnerable women and their babies on Christmas Eve. So Bernadette, you guys are going to be out here. Love it. Spread the word. Again, short notice, so I need your help spreading the word for this, guys. We've seen what God can do. We just saw 2,000 people gather for life across Las Cruces and New Mexico. And this one's a little more challenging because it's Christmas Eve morning. But we'll be here for them because this is where the rubber hits the road, and we got to put our money where our mouth is. So God bless you guys. Have a good night, and we'll see you on Christmas Eve.